You're listening to Off the Clock Sports.
Off the Clock Sports.
The weekly show where you'll hear the best insights on all the latest in sports. Here's your host, Brendan Cook.
Brendan Cook.
Eli Manning called it a career after 16 seasons with the New York Giants. He retires the best quarterback probably the city of New York has ever seen. One of the all-time great quarterbacks, 2 Super Bowls, 16 seasons, a 4-time Pro Bowler. The question seems to be around Eli, though, is he a Hall of Famer? And I believe the answer is yes. I believe Eli Manning will go into the Hall of Fame. I'm not sure if he goes in on the first ballot. I believe it's going to really depend on the ballot that year, whether, he's going up against, if he's going up against like a Tom Brady or a Drew Brees. Like if Drew Brees retires this year and they're eligible at the same time, probably not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like I said, it's going to depend on the ballot. But I think he's a Hall of Famer regardless. There's people that want to say, well, if you take away the 2 Super Bowl rings, is he a Hall of Famer? Maybe not. Maybe if you take those 2 Super Bowls away that he's not a Hall of Famer, but you can't take the Super Bowls away. He won them. They're on his resume. They're there and they're there to stay. I mean, he's 7th in passing yards all time, 7th in touchdown passes, 2-time Super Bowl champion, 4-time Pro Bowler, 2016 Walter Payton Man of the Year. His number is being retired by the Giants, and he is going to go in their Ring of Honor. If you want to make a case against it, he's a 500 quarterback, 117. He's missed the playoffs 9 out of 16 years, and 4 times in the playoffs the Giants were one and done. But then again, that stuff shouldn't be on Eli specifically. That stuff should be on the general manager, on ownership, on coaching, that they weren't good enough or they didn't surround him with a good enough team. I would look at the 7th in passing yards, the 2 Super Bowls, the accolades. I would look at that stuff and say that Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer. First ballot, maybe not. Hall of Famer, though, I would say for sure. I don't think you can take what Eli Manning did on the field and his resume away from him. And I think that saying, well, if you take the 2 Super Bowls away, I feel like that's just a lazy argument for people who just don't necessarily like Eli. And he did what he did. And if you don't think Eli's a Hall of Famer, well, then there's got to be a lot of guys that you don't think is a Hall of Famer. Because what Eli did on the field and what he meant to football, what he meant to the Giants, you can't take away from the guy. I think he's a slam dunk Hall of Famer. First ballot, like I said, not sure. Hall of Famer, 100%.
Yeah, I'd agree. Eli is a Hall of Famer. There's no doubt about that. Like you said, is he a first ballot? Like it depends on the ballot. I don't think he's a fringe guy, but he's not like one of those slam dunk first ballot Hall of Famers. He's that kind of middle ground kind of guy. The people who say if you take away his 2 Super Bowls and like his numbers are pretty pedestrian, he wouldn't be a Hall of Famer. Well, it's just like, I understand Tom Brady has got all these numbers, but if you took away all 6 of his Super Bowls and he was 0-9 in the Super Bowl, like would that make him like a Hall of Famer if he lost the biggest games when they counted most? Like, or even like you say that about Peyton Manning, like if he lost every Super Bowl he was in, never won a Super Bowl, or like you could go down the list. Big Ben, like is Ben Roethlisberger as a Hall of Famer if he doesn't have any Super Bowls? That's just a silly argument. Like you said, you could go down the list of every Super Bowl winning quarterback, and that's just a ridiculous argument. So I don't listen to that stuff. Like you said, he's 7th in all-time passing, 7th in all-time touchdowns. Like the guy is like, it always comes down to this: can you tell the history of football without Eli Manning? And you cannot. Nope. You cannot. And it's not like he did one thing. It's not like he was, like Nick Foles in like that Super Bowl run for the Eagles. It's not like he went on a run one time, won a Super Bowl, and like that's basically it.
And disappeared.
No, and disappeared. Yeah, Eli was the starting quarterback of the New York Giants for 16 seasons. Like it's just like the New York Giants are like one of the biggest franchises in all of football. Like it's not like he was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback for 16 seasons and never won a Super Bowl, or won the 2 Super Bowls and had these numbers. Like it does matter where he played, and he played in New York. And like you said, he might have been the greatest quarterback to ever play in New York. I know some Jets fans would say Joe Namath was better, but if you compare Joe Namath's stats to like Eli's, they're pretty comparable. And it's just like, give me Eli over Namath. The only thing Namath had was like he was more personable, he had a better personality. But I have a hard time believing people legitimately don't think this guy is not a Hall of Famer because of just the fact that he was 9-7 both times they won the Super Bowl. They went on the road the whole way through. Like, it was just like both times. And then they beat the Patriots both times. It wasn't like they beat the one-off, let's just say Kansas City Chiefs that made it to the Super Bowl one time. Or like, it's not like they beat some random AFC team. It was the beat dominant Patriots, the perfect season Patriots that they beat, and say what you will, like just that throw to David Tyree just like is a Hall of Fame play in itself. He was wrapped up, he rolls out, he's got his jersey being tugged, he just chucks it. I know it takes an amazing catch by David Tyree, but it still takes an amazing throw to get it there and be able to get out of that pocket and not get sacked there. He's part of the Manning family. It's a Hall of Fame family. Like, it's just like the guy's a slam dunk Hall of Famer. He was, to me it's just a matter of, is he first ballot or not?
Yeah, like I said, first ballot's I think the only question to me, because like I said, if since he retired this year, and if Drew Brees, we're waiting on his decision, decides to call it a career, we're not sure what he's doing yet. But if he decides to call it a career this summer, then I believe they're going to be eligible on the same ballot. And I believe Drew Brees, regardless of Eli having an extra Super Bowl, Drew Brees has the passing yard record and the touchdown record. So I believe he would get first ballot over Eli. Mm-hmm. And that's not a shot at Eli. That's just a compliment to Drew Brees' greatness. But I mean, to say like, well, what if you take this away? And like you said, if you took away all Tom Brady's Super Bowls, well, I mean, he still has 500 touchdown passes, and he's still second on passing yards. Or if you took away Peyton Manning's, well, Peyton Manning had the touchdown record at one point, and Peyton Manning had the passing yard record at one point, so he would still be a Hall of Famer. Eli's top 10 in both those stats. And if you say, well, Eli's not a Hall of Famer, and he only has 2 Super Bowls and he's 7th, well then, I mean, is Brett Favre a Hall of Famer? Eli has an extra Super Bowl. Brett Favre's in the top 10. I mean, I don't understand what if you take away? The guy's resume is what it is, and the guy has on his resume what he has. Like, if you have an employee of the month because the best employee at your work took a month off, does that mean you're not employee of the month if they were there? Like, no, that's not how that works. Yeah. Eli has 2 Super Bowls. Eli's 7th on the passing yards and touchdown list. He won Walter Payton Man of the Year, which I believe means something because that means he's doing stuff off the field as well. And he's making a difference in people's lives off the field. He's going to have his number retired by, like you said, not the Buccaneers or not the Oakland Raiders or not the Miami Dolphins. He's having his number retired by the New York Football Giants. He is going in the Ring of Honor for the New York Football Giants. That's got to mean something. He took one of the better franchises in football, one of the bigger like New York is the media capital of the world. Eli conquered all of that, and he took them on 2 runs, and regardless, they went 9-7, but that means, like you said, they had to take the road for every playoff game. They were constantly on flights, not sleeping in their own beds, staying in hotels, and Eli took the Giants, put them on his back, and said, run with me, and they did, and they knocked off the 16-0 Patriots, and then they knocked off what I believe was an MVP caliber season from Tom Brady. Did he win MVP that season? I'm trying to remember. Was that the season 2011?
2011, I believe he did because he threw for 50 touchdowns that year. Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah, so he knocked off one of. I mean, regardless if it was MVP that year or the year before, while you're looking that up, he knocked off the greatest quarterback to ever play football twice. He knocked off the greatest coach in NFL history to a lot of people's standards twice. Like, Randy Moss was on the other sideline. A young Gronk and Aaron Hernandez were on the other sideline. Wes Welker was on the other sideline. I mean, Julian Edelman was on the other sideline for that second Super Bowl. He knocked off that Patriots team who had really good defense and the GOAT at quarterback and head coach. You can't take that away from Eli Manning. He did it. And it's like you said, it's not like he was Nick Foles where he went on one run And then he disappears and he's in Jacksonville now, and you don't hear about the guy anymore because he's trying to compete with Gardner Minshew for a starting quarterback job. Eli was at the front and center of that organization. Whether he had an off day or whether he had a great day, we were talking about Eli Manning because he was that great and we held him to that high of a standard. Was he not great in a lot of moments, and do you remember a lot of bad times? Sure. And were there times Eli could have been better? Sure. But the New York Giants' success and, the losing seasons that they had can't all be pinned on Eli Manning. Ownership has to eat some of that. Management has to eat some of that. And coaching has to eat some of that too. Can Eli have been better? Like I said, sure. But he did win 2 Super Bowls. And I don't care if he missed the playoffs the other 14 seasons. He was great and at the front and center of the football world, not once, twice. That, to me, alone is good enough to be Hall of Fame material. The rest of the stuff just cements it.
Yep. You're 100% right. Just back to the 2011 or 2010 MVP, it was Tom Brady. So
he knocked off the MVP.
Yeah.
Twice. Tom Brady was MVP both Super Bowls.
Yeah. So it's it just I have nothing else to say other than the fact that Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer. It's just silly to think otherwise, in my opinion.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And like I said, the what if you take away argument is just, I think it's just a lazy argument. I think it's people, just like you said earlier, trying to get followers, trying to get attention, and it just doesn't work. And I apologize to anyone who has that argument. It just does not work.